Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we will take a look at some new Just No HOA content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, They Wrote Their Own HOA. So about 6 years ago, my wife and I bought a townhouse in a small town. A condition of the purchase was to join the HOA. Sure, whatever, it is a small town surrounded by farmland, cheap dues, not a big issue. Living there for about a year, no big issue. We have our first son. 2 years later we are expecting our second son. We decide to switch places with my single sister who is living in my childhood home. 5 bedrooms versus our 2. Easy decision since we will have a newborn and a 2-year-old. So we make the switch. 2 months later, I get a call from Clar, husband, and Dorothy who live across the street from our townhouse. Clar built all the townhouses in the 80s and still owns 4 of them which he rents. His buddy also owns and rents 4, one of which we share a wall with. Clar informs me that it's against HOA rules to rent units unless you own 4. Conveniently, the HOA was written by Clar. I told him I know and that I am letting my sister live there rent-free, which I am. He says that that is highly irregular and insists I come to the HOA meeting. I am like, sure, not breaking any rules. At the HOA meeting he demands proof that I am not receiving payment for my sister. I have to inform him that I can't prove something that doesn't exist and that the burden of proof lies on him. I also may have told him in front of all his neighbors that I thought I moved to X-Berg, not Soviet Russia. He wanted to put it to a vote. I said go ahead and have the vote, but if it didn't go in my favor I wasn't going to abide by it. The vote went my way and the only dissenting votes were him and his buddy trying to protect their monopoly. He insists I go to every meeting still to defend my case. I don't, but sometimes I lay awake thinking of ways I could make his life hard if I did. Next one is titled, The HOA Towing Saga. Back in May I was in a car accident in my company car. It got totaled by my insurance. I choose to keep it because it was still drivable and I just had a lot of work done to it. New wrap motor and trans were just rebuilt 18 months ago. That forced me to file for a salvaged title and return to my registration. So I parked it in my private garage that doesn't have a garage door. It sat without any notice or complaint for 5 months. I removed the trunk lid to get some custom wiring done on the inside of it. The very next day it was gone out of my garage. I called the cops. They checked to see if it was towed and they don't have it on the list of towed cars. So we start filling the stolen vehicle report and halfway through I get a call from the HOA telling me they towed the car. So I cancel the report and ask dispatch to send police to the tow yard. I head over to tow yard as well. When I arrive the manager is standing right in the front area. I tell him, you stole my car and I want it returned. Cops are on the way. His response is, I didn't steal crap from your property. Manager had me tow it. I ask if it was my management, landlord, or HOA management who authorized it. He ignored me and went in office. A few minutes later he returns with a body cam, taser, and gun. I at this time walked into the open tow yard to try to see if I could see my car and can't locate it. I hear, get the duck out of the yard or I'll tase you. I turn to see Mr. Wannabe Cop, tow manager walking up to me. I freeze up and start shutting down due to my autism. I just don't move or say anything. I am able to center myself enough to start walking as he starts to push me. Mind you, I am 6 feet 300 pounds, he is maybe 175 pounds soaking wet and 6 inches shorter than me. I am about to turn to grab him as I see cops pulling up. So I just calmly walk towards cops, ignoring the guy as I walk out the gate. The cops tell me it's a civil matter and that I have to take him to court. They can't do anything. So I leave and head to court to file the paperwork. Ends up taking a month to get the papers filed cause had to send demand letter etc. before I could file. I also contact HOA management company and inform them of the fact the tow company biz license is revoked. Also of the many violations they committed by having car towed. In turn, the 22-year-old idiot that is in charge of our property tells me if I file a lawsuit, him and his buddies will make me regret that choice. I file a TPO that day and have it served on him as well. Get all that done, then the HOA VP reaches out to me on Facebook asking me to attend the HOA meeting. I inform him in the chat logs that HOA manager has TPO, he is not to be there. So I plan to be at meeting next day with all my documentation and work out solution that's fair to everyone. I show up to meeting with several owners who were on my side and witnesses to the towing without notice, the revoked towing company license, etc. I see TPO guy immediately and inform him that he needs to leave, that he is in violation. That is when the HOA VP tells me that he has cops on way to trespass me from the clubhouse because I'm not an owner. I leave without incident or yelling. We go to court 3 days later and beat them in court. Next one is titled, "Let's go back to the start of my HOA issues, renter who won." So when I moved into my area I was so happy. It's really out of place for my city. It's not the subdivision that's lifeless like most. Hear the people outside walking their dogs, kids playing, and it's just fun to live here. Then about a week after moving in, the HOA notices start coming. First a notice that my patio furniture isn't patio furniture because it's wood. Then a notice that my dog is off leash, which is not the case. I tied him up to a tree while I was watching him and standing by him, Sparky, my 70-pound pit. Both of these were $100 fine. Then I get told they are trying to pass a size limit to dogs. I decided that this wasn't going to fly and contacted my landlord. I asked him to inform the HOA to deal with me as if I am an owner so I can fight these violations at a hearing. He does, and I set hearing. At the hearing I show the receipt and newspaper ad about my patio furniture. They agree that it is okay to have. Then I bring up my dog and they say, "We don't care about the dog, but you need to not run a business from your home." My business is an out-call, remote IT services to businesses. No customers come to my house. I ask, "Who told you this info?" "The amount of computer equipment you moved in," she states. "So you assumed it," I reply. "No one needs more than a laptop unless they are running a business." She mumbles to other board members. I tell them, I do work from home a lot, but my company's office is not my house and customers won't be coming over to my house. They ask me to leave while they make their decision. About 2 minutes later I hear the president yelling, "I don't like him, he has to go." Some other people talking, and then after about 10 minutes the treasurer comes out and tells me that they are sorry, she was wrong. She just lost her friend who used to live in your unit and she doesn't want anyone else living in it. I ask, "So no fine?" He tells me, "Yay, no fine, you're good." Fast forward 2 months, I get a call from my landlord telling me that the HOA is upset about my patio furniture. So I call the company managing the HOA to ask about this and get told basically that even though I prevailed at hearing I don't own my unit. So it doesn't matter, the hearing didn't count, and that for each week that patio furniture has been out I owe $100, $800 total. I decided that I would file a complaint with the state real estate division and they choose drop the fine. Next story is about how they cut my internet line. Next one is titled, "Severed Internet Cable." About 5 months after moving in I started to have connection issues from my ISP. They came out and replaced the line from the pole to my house. 2 weeks later they start this project to remove trees and grass around the dumpsters. The coaxial cable ran underground through this area. The landscapers decided that it was smart to remove the conduit that protected our lines and just lay the lines directly in the dirt. I call our HOA warning them of this issue and that I had just paid a good amount of money to run 2 new lines from the pole to my house, and that if I lose my connection due to their contractor's incompetence they would be liable to replace them. They tell me it will be fine, and guess what happens? They severed it when they were pulling the tree stump 3 days later. So I contacted my ISP, informed them of the situation, and they sent a team out immediately and got it fixed. Thank God I have a business account with them, or it would have been 4 days until they could have repaired it, like my neighbor's line that got cut a week later. I got the ISP to bill the HOA. No idea if they got paid for it yet. Hopefully they did. Last one is titled, Clubhouse hell, from a board member's perspective. I am a board member of a condominium association in Silicon Valley. We have 124 units, 45 years old. I've been a board member for a year and a half, and I joined because I noticed over the last several years the property was being neglected in regards to preventive maintenance. We have a cabana, clubhouse, available for use by our residents on a reservation basis. Remember, our property is 45 years old. We are located right next to Google headquarters and property values are skyrocketing due to our location. Our clubhouse, however, does not reflect the high property values that we are now enjoying. It is dated and has not been updated in regards to decor in many years. When I took over the clubhouse, I closed it for 2 weeks while I performed a super deep cleaning. I am semi-retired and was able to spend a large part of the day scrubbing the clubhouse from top to bottom. It is normal when you use the clubhouse that be cleaned after use, but previously it had not been properly maintained and had years of dirt, grime built up. It was disgusting. Even the residents had made comments regarding the condition at the clubhouse. One area in particular was the linoleum floor, which is 21 years old. In order to get all of the grime, old wax residue, off the floor, that had built up over the years, I resorted to using electric vibrating sander fitted with a greenie, scouring pad, and good old-fashioned Comet. What was once a dark and dingy floor came to life. The difference it made was amazing. After my 2-week closure, I presented to the rest of the board a revitalized clubhouse with new and updated furnishings, acquired via Craigslist free section, with a sparkling clean floor and restrooms. To ensure that the clubhouse would be kept clean from resident to resident, a walkthrough procedure was implemented. When a resident is given the key to the clubhouse, a walkthrough is performed, where the resident verifies the condition, cleanliness of the clubhouse. During the initial walkthrough, I emphasized to the resident to take notice of the floor and the restrooms because those are the 2 areas that are often overlooked when they were cleaning up after use. Once the resident is done using the clubhouse and they are ready to turn in the key, we perform another walkthrough where I verify that the clubhouse was as clean as it was prior to use. I'm a pretty laid-back guy and I'm pretty reasonable when it comes to the walkthrough. For the most part, if the resident made a concerted effort to clean the clubhouse properly, I have no problem with overlooking an area where a resident may have missed cleaning. I should also note that a $100 deposit is required from the resident when reserving the clubhouse, but that is returned to the resident once they return the key. Our check-in check-out procedure has been in place for 4 months. The clubhouse has been utilized by our residents more in the last 4 months than it had been in the last year as a result of improvements made. Recently I had a very frustrating experience to which I would like to share and get input on. We had a resident reserve the clubhouse last Friday. They were having a birthday party for their son on Saturday afternoon. We did a walkthrough when I turned over the key and the resident verified that all areas were clean and in good condition and signed off on the checklist. They gave me their $100 deposit and it was agreed that they would return the key the following day. Another resident had reserved the clubhouse for the following night, so I explained to the resident I had to have the key back so I could turn it over to the next resident the following morning. When I tried to contact the resident the following morning, I was unable to contact them. They had gone on a day trip and did not return until 4 p.m. the following day. When they finally returned my call, we agreed to meet at the clubhouse to do a check-in walkthrough. Instead of meeting at the door, the resident left the key on the table inside the clubhouse and went home. He apparently had company at the time and didn't have time to do a walkthrough. They sent a text message that the clubhouse was clean and that they felt no need to do the walkthrough. In the meantime, the next resident that reserved the clubhouse was patiently waiting to get the key so they could set up for their event, which was later that night. I used my backup key to open the clubhouse and immediately noticed that the floor was very dirty. I tried to contact the resident, but as previously stated, they had company and were unavailable. This is the reason why the walkthrough is necessary, to identify any areas that needed to be taken care of. I was unable to get a hold of the other board members to verify the condition of the floor in the clubhouse, so my only alternative was to take a short video of the condition of the floor. That way I could show the resident at a later time. Unfortunately, I did not have time to clean the floor prior to the next resident's use, and upon their walkthrough I documented that the floor was dirty and that resident stated they would be happy to clean it. The following day I sent a text message to the first resident informing them of the clubhouse floor, and sent them the video where was very clear how dirty the floor was. I informed them that, although the floor was dirty, I was returning their check, because as I said, I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and because the next resident to use the clubhouse agreed to clean it. I informed them that I would return the check to them later that afternoon, and that this is precisely the reason why we do the walkthrough afterwards. When I returned the check to the resident, I was verbally attacked and continuously insulted by this resident because they felt that they had cleaned the clubhouse in a satisfactory manner. When I tried to explain to them in a calm fashion, that there was no harm no foul, because they were getting the check back and that the next time it was important that we do the walkthrough together. The resident continued to yell stating that the clubhouse was clean and I was the one who was being unreasonable. I would like to state that this resident had involved several of the other neighbors and was making a scene. She refused to look at the video of the dirty floor and she was yelling obscenities at me, while I stood there in disbelief, after I informed her that because they failed to follow the procedure of the walkthrough after use, they were unable to see firsthand the condition of the floor. She was yelling how she would never step in the clubhouse again and that I was completely out of line. I informed her that was to her benefit. The next resident to use the clubhouse agreed to clean the floor prior to turning the key back into me. As I turned to walk away, I was quite shaken and upset at the confrontation. The following day, when I got the key back from the next resident that used Clubhouse, I was pleasantly surprised when they said to keep the $100 deposit and apply that towards maintenance of the clubhouse because they were so impressed with the improvements made. They also cleaned the clubhouse including the floor. I guess the point of this post is that while I agree that there are a lot of issues living in an HOA, but sometimes we as board members give our very best to be fair and reasonable, but unfortunately there are those that will take advantage or try to circumvent the rules and then blame others in the aftermath when things don't go their way. Thanks for listening.